So if you never want to run out of things to fuck with, live on a boat. I've got this boat here. Her name's Dragon's Tooth. She's a 30-foot sloop built by Trident Marine. She's a Trident Voyager 30. And she's 43 years old and a little neglected. Previous owner just let leaks happen and let problems occur with the motor and didn't really care about her when he bought her. And a year went in and he said, fuck it, I don't feel like dealing with the projects. And I bought the boat and now they're my projects. Like, take this solar panel, for example. This is something freshly installed not too long ago, and let me tell you, it was a bitch. Originally, I was gonna install 2 of these. I bought them off of a neighbor of mine. He pulled them off of a 45-foot catamaran that he had in the Bahamas during Dorian, and it kind of died. So he pulled all the good shit off of it and sold it to me for 500 bucks, 2 solar panels, 320 watts, and a Victron solar controller, which is broken, so I had to buy one. But this is a bit of a rush job, as you can probably tell. Nothing's square, it's fucking crooked, and it's all fucked up because I tried to use this arch as true, and with a boat, never trust that anything is true. If you think it's true, take a measuring tape to it anyway, because as you can see, these, looking straight on, probably don't look too bad, right? But then as soon as you get down, you can tell they're just fucked. And at this point, I was about 11 hours into the project installing this. I had a day to do it because I was starting a new job next day. So I said, well, fuck, I gotta get this done. So I just kind of threw it up, and it's slapdash, it's wobbly, it's not going anywhere. And the crimps, I did them good. They're dielectric grease filled, wrapped up with electrical tape, not going anywhere. But pretty soon here, what I want to do is take these pieces of, I've got 2 of these pieces of aluminum bar stock. It's 1 inch by 1/8 inch internal thickness, and just go and stick it up with them instead of these pieces of flat, which as you can see are very loose and floppy, kind of like a big dog ear or something a little bit less nice. And so these markings are here for, because these markings correspond directly with where I want it to lay to get the maximum footprint. By having the maximum footprint, it's got the maximum amount of strength it can have for the size of arch available. Another fun project, water. I just fixed the water pump, and God, do I wish I got that on camera, because that was fun. It was originally one of these bad boys, a SureFlow diaphragm pump, model number, who fucking cares? And this thing is shit. 30 PSI, 1.6 gallons per minute. It is not enough, and it is worn to all hell. If I plug this thing up to the power, okay, let's just plug it up to these here, this broke. I suspect there was a power surge at some time during the day, and it didn't really hurt anything because my solar setup, I was expecting to have 2 320 watt panels instead of 1. So that is wired up with 8 gauge, 48 volts, running to 8 gauge, maximum 5 amps on that end, so it's way bigger than it needs to be. Going into a Victron 100/30 solar controller, and this is, it was like 200 bucks, worth every fucking penny. It goes from the solar controller, goes in, comes out into, if I remember correctly, this is what, 4-aught? Where is it? No, 4 gauge. It goes into 4 gauge wire, which is, how you might say, overbuilt. Because this thing is putting out at most, what, 320 watts, 12 amps, 30 amps, 24, 25. So, don't really need 4 gauge, but I was expecting to have 2 of those, and I was gonna go electric. The motor's dead in this thing. It's not dead. I'm gonna fix it now that I know what's wrong with it. But I hydrolocked it and kind of broke it. Which, that was a fun day. It was just a fucking plume of smoke and water, because the, actually I should probably open this thing up. I'll cut all this out in editing. So coming into this boat, I didn't really know anything about boats, and I worked at a shipyard for 2 years, living aboard this thing, my first job in Miami. If you're gonna live on a boat, if you're gonna buy a boat, work at a shipyard and cut your teeth, because you will learn so much. This motor has some issues. It's a Westerbeek 30B3, and as you can see, I have the elbow apart because I want to minimize any chances of electrolysis getting into this thing. The valves are out of time because, as I said, I hydrolocked it really bad. What happened was I was test running it to see if anything was wrong. And when I fired it up, it just fucking spewed water and smoke everywhere. So I shut it off, checked to see what was wrong. I noticed the seacock, I forgot to open it. So I opened it, tried to fire it up again, it didn't want to start, and then all of a sudden, boom! Water, ash, smoke, excitement everywhere. Everywhere. And the fucking boat, I swear to God, it was like a fucking salmon's cum shot. Just shit everywhere. And just, I was like, okay, that's not good. So I started pulling it apart, and I pulled out the glow plugs. And I went, that's interesting. And I closed it back up, and then I took off the air box, which isn't on here right now. And I stuck my finger in it, and I went, oh my God, there's water in there. There's fucking water in my motor. And my dad was with me. So I was like, hey, turn that fucker over right now. So we fucking turned it over. And sure enough, each one of the spark plug holes, geyser, 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 geyser. Every single compression stroke. Just coated the fucking ceiling. It was just pissing everywhere. So I filled it full of PB Blaster, let that drain out, filled it full of Marvel Mystery Oil, and it's still full of Marvel Mystery Oil. It's pretty much in stasis right now, other than just really put a rag over the intake soaked in oil, but it doesn't really matter at this point. Still turns. Lifters aren't busted. The fucking valves, they're completely out of time, but I haven't run it. It hasn't been under load since this all happened, so I just have to pull the thing out. And I've got a video that I'm gonna edit together. I took a video I had in my salon for like a month because I was gonna yank this thing out. I built an A-frame out of 4x4s, and I had to live around that thing for a month, but I couldn't pull it because I was expecting to haul out, and then I quit my job. But I was living around it for a month, and it got to the point I was so sick of it that I took a fucking sledgehammer to it and then just busted it apart, threw it away. I couldn't deal with it anymore. But yeah, the motor, I need to pull it apart, put in a new Woodruff key, and just retime it. Because when that Woodruff key went, the timing for the valves and the injector is cam driven off of a cam running from the motor. It's not part of the timing assembly as far as I know, but I'm fairly certain that it's timed off of the timing assembly. And the timing assembly is gear driven. It's not a chain drive, it's not a belt drive, it's direct gear drive. Great, super fucking strong. It's got a built-in fail-safe of a little Woodruff key in it that if the motor does try to hydrolock, it busts it and just lets the valves do whatever the fuck they want. Yes, if you try to run it in that state, you will kill it. However, it didn't have any load on it when it happened, so it's fine. The valves are just out of time, I gotta retime them. So once the valves are retimed and the injection is retimed, then I make sure that it's got compression, because it does have compression. It's reading 150, 200, 150 straight across the cylinders. So what that tells me is that the whole thing, none of the fucking valves aren't closing all the way. It either jumped teeth or the Woodruff key broke. So I need to retime it, and that'll get me back. Now let's close this up. Then another thing that I did, which was pretty fun. Last hurricane season, not the Dorian one, but the one after the Dorian one, I pulled into the hurricane hole, which is down, I don't know if you can see out that window, but there's these two big pink buildings over there. And that pulls into what's called Gables Waterway. It's mangroves back for like half a mile. Really secluded, really protected, great hurricane hole. And when I was there, I pulled up next to a mangrove. And you see, you can't cut mangroves. You have to let them be. So, as I was lying there at night, I noticed something weird. My boat was going twang, 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 and I went, what the fuck is that? And I get up there with my headlamp, and I look up, and I see that my interior baby stay is getting plucked and plucked and plucked and plucked like it's a fucking string, and it's making the whole boat vibrate because, you know, it's fiberglass. It's basically a big bell. So I go, fuck, I'm gonna have to fix that, aren't I? And sure enough, as I'm towing it out, I notice, and I have a video of this, I notice that the chain plates are popped up. And take a look at it, and I go, oh shit, it's rotted to hell, which is what this fiberglass is here to do. This is 4 layers of 1808 on this side, 4 layers of 1808 on the other, laid in with vinyl ester, super fucking strong, unbreakable practically. This is probably about 1/4 inch of fiberglass in place of 1/4 inch of fucking wood. It's way more than it needs. This is fucking, it's not going anywhere. And so I put the baby stays back down, drilled the holes. This one was a bitch, but the other one, because, you know, the stays are tuned, it's like a piano. Every single one of the cables coming down interacts with each other, and they're mated pairs, but they're not mated in the direction that you think it is. So you have the 4 baby stays, right? The baby stays correspond diagonally to each other and not directly across with their forces. So this baby stay here was getting twanged and pulled on, which means that this one over here, because they were both rotted, pulled out. So I ground out all the rot. I sanded it up so that it would actually lay down right. I laid the fuck out of that fiberglass, and I'm pretty proud of it. I think I did a good job. I mean, it is my fucking trade. And came out fucking great. Except that one, I have to redo the caulking because the caulking is a little bit fucked. And then, as I said earlier, the previous owner did not care about the leaks. He just fucking left them. So yeah, that's just toast. And so is most of this bulkhead here. It's bad. So I need to go in and take templates once I know that these leaks are good, which is part of installing that new pressure pump. Look at that. Look at that, it's running water. I haven't had this in the 2 years that I've been on the boat. And it's a lot of running water too. I fucking, you know, you don't know how much of a quality of life boost it is to have running water until you've lived without it for a couple of years. And then you get it all working because you got time. It's not like I've got anything better to do. Get it all working. And you just pull up on the lever and the pressure pump engages, turns on and off, and you can wash your hands. Although it's mostly bleach right now because it was sitting for 2 years, so it's full. The whole system's full of algae. And I filled up the tanks full. I filled up the tank fully. It's a 40-gallon stainless tank, unvented. So as I was filling it, it was getting airlocked and airlocked and airlocked. It was just puking everywhere. If I wasn't careful, it was fucking horrible. But it's full now, and I'm kind of shocked that the boat isn't listing. It seems happier. Actually, this boat is very interesting, and the naval architecture that went into it, like every single one of the bulkheads in this boat is structural because it's stuck in with fiberglass. It's not just glued in. What that means is that it's got a very strong adhesion and mechanical bond to the boat. So if, say, this quarter of the boat gets smacked, the bulkhead actually takes the load instead of giving way. So, while it might be thin, it's still, that bulkhead isn't there by accident. It's there for a reason. Because why would you, yes, it divides the storage space, but it's fucking strong. If you do the math on the way that this boat is bulkheaded, it's rather thin for an old British boat as things go. It's about, if memory serves, 3/8 inch thick when I measured it. It's 3/8 inch thick at the top, and then as it comes down, it layers up and layers up and layers up. And at its thickest, at the bottom of the keel, it's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. I had to grind into it. When I hauled this boat out December 2019, and I was under the keel of it. I've got videos of that on my channel. I was under the keel of it for a fucking month. Just grinding and grinding. 200 blisters. Ground them out, glassed them in, faired them in, painted the boat, and I'm gonna have to repaint it in probably about a year because I did a shitty job. When I was hauled out, it was 2 a.m. and it was the last weekend that I really wanted to spend on it because I did everything structural. I got the epoxy barrier coat on, which is the most important thing, and I was mixing up my paint. And I didn't tighten down the mixer enough. So I flipped it on, and the mixer is for big paint cans. They're like that big, and it's a motor that goes to that goes into a belt, and the belt goes to a pulley that basically goes to a reciprocating arm, which just goes and it does a really good job of shaking up thick paint. And I didn't tighten it down enough, so I fired it up, it went and then choom! $300! And I just stood there staring at it for a good 20 minutes, and I'm running on more caffeine than sleep. And I have to go to the yard that's currently under construction because they're installing a new ship lift. And I have to move around 200-pound blocks all day the next day. I go, you know what? You know what? I'm going to bed. So I go to bed. Next morning, I clean up the mess because I get yelled at. And I got food poisoning, too. That's another story. But yeah, so fix the water pump. I need to redo the solar panel. I need to fix the motor, redo the bulkheads. I want to buff the hull. But that's a pain in the ass because the boat's in the water. Really, I want to repaint it. I want to put like 2 coats of gel. 2 coats of gel coat. What you do if you're painting with gel coat, don't use acetone, because acetone is kind of like, so you have cocaine, right? Let's say you have the purest, most amazing cocaine straight off the boat from fucking Colombia, okay? And you're dumping it out, but you don't have enough of it, okay? What do? You cut it with... I actually don't know anything about cocaine. I've never snorted it, but I dated a Jewish stripper who did. Do you cut it with talc, or do you cut it with fentanyl? And cutting it with acetone, it's kind of like cutting it with fentanyl, because you fuck it up. You just, it doesn't do what you want it to do. It retards the mixture so much that if you're not careful, it doesn't kick. And acetone also gives it a bluish tinge, which you don't want, because if you're doing gel coat on a boat, say you have a massive gel coat gouge and you need to fill it. Boats usually have a red tint or a blue or a yellow tint to them, so if you add blue, it won't look right. What you want to use is patch booster, because patch booster does not cause the kick of the mixture to change, and it doesn't change the color fastness either. You don't have to fuck with it. So you just add the patch booster, half and half mixture, stir it up, add your color to whatever the fuck you want it to be, and then go, okay, let's paint. Then you roll like 2 or 3 coats, you're done. And all grip. Don't use all grip, it's a fucking money pit. See, I want to paint the boat and buff it. But the next project that I'm gonna do is absolutely certainly the solar panel. But to do that, it needs to be nighttime, because I don't want to lose out. It's a 320 watt panel, and it's so nice. I don't have to think about power. I can just fucking throw whatever I want on. I've got this beautiful, wonderful refrigerator here. Well, it's a freezer, and it's got a little controller on the back of it, just a very simple setup of 2 pots, and I need to adjust the pot for where this is, because yeah, you can't really store veggies in it. It just kills them. It looks kind of like a sea cucumber. This is supposed to be zucchini, and it's a sea cucumber right now. I fucked it up. Meat's frozen. Oh wait, no, it's not frozen. Yeah, I need to cook that, or just throw it away. Frankly, I might just throw everything away. I don't care. Like, it's buying all that stuff in there just to cook a couple meals was still cheaper than eating out, so I don't really care. Better for me too. But yeah, yeah, it's gonna be fun. Got a lot of projects to work on. And yeah, hopefully you'll stick around with me. God fucking help you. And yeah, like, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube jargon, and I will see you later.